Hello, and welcome to another episode of 18-Minute Experts, the podcast where we unpack big ideas in group benefits, all in the time that it takes to grab a coffee or find a parking space in any metropolitan area of Canada. I'm your host, Michael Kettner, and today we're tackling the topic which couldn't be more relevant: how to support your clients in uncertain times. At the time of this recording, Canadians have elected a new prime minister, and global trade tensions are making waves that reach straight into boardrooms of Canadian businesses. So, as a group benefits advisor, how do we navigate these waters? What challenges do we need to anticipate? And more importantly, where are the opportunities to lead with value? To help answer those questions, I'm joined by someone who's been through several business cycles themselves. Paul Ingram, partner at the Silverberg Group in Alberta and part of the People Corporation family of companies. Paul brings a wealth of insight, experience, and Alberta grit into the conversation. But before we start, a quick plug. If you like what you hear, hit that subscribe button on your favorite podcast platform so you never miss an episode. You can also find us at www.peoplecorporation.com/18-minute experts. And if you're feeling particularly generous, leave us a review. It helps us grow and keeps the conversation going. All right, coffee in hand, parking space found. Let's get into it. Paul, welcome to the show. Let's dive in. Paul, I have to say that when I saw this topic come up in our podcast planning sessions, we all started to ask around as to who would be a great interviewee for this topic. Your name kept coming up from all aspects and all corners of People Corporation and others involved in our industry. But for maybe those who don't know you yet, why don't you share a little bit about who you are and your past experiences?
Thanks, Michael. It's a pleasure to be on here with you. And really, for us to go through my career and past experience would take up the entire time for me to go through all that. So I'll be brief and share with you that I've had 10 careers in my lifetime, and this one has been my clear favorite. I started out articling with PwC, PricewaterhouseCoopers, where I got my CA designation. And from there, I worked for different companies as VP Finance, Controller, sort of accounting type roles. I owned and operated a couple of businesses, was president of a .com back when there was a .com opportunity. I started a new business for Intuit, who does tax software. I did executive recruiting. And then I finally found where I should have been all the time, which is with employee benefits. The one thing I've frequently heard from our clients when I discuss with them the things that really matter in a way that I think is understandable is that it seems like I've been on their side of the table. And that's because during much of my career, I was on the other side of the table, and I know what mattered to me, and then I hope by extension I understand what matters to them.
So why don't you go a little bit more into that? I mean, how has your varied career helped you in those conversations? Are there any specific examples of that?
Well, I think, Michael, where it's been helpful is just in my ability to sort of put myself, you always say you want to put yourself in your client's shoes and understand things through their lens and from their perspective. And what I can honestly say is I've actually legitimately been in their shoes. I've been the controller for a company. I've been, on their side where I knew what things were critical to us at what stage in the business we were at. I really go out of my way to understand where clients are in their business journey. Is this the beginning and we need to be more mindful of costs, or are they are they in startup, or are they in ramp up where, now costs maybe aren't as important and it's more attracting top talent? So I think that's been helpful.
Nice. Similar to you, I've been in the industry a long time and have gone through a lot of different business cycles. Everything from the financial crisis of 2028 to COVID in 2020, the Great Resignation in 21 and 22, and here we are today. In 2025, we've just gone through a federal election. Global economics are wreaking havoc on Canadian businesses. What is your approach and mindset to managing a group benefits practice during this time, and how are you helping your clients?
Right. Well, I remember all of those crises you talked about. You mentioned, I think you meant in 2008, the financial crisis. And you're right. I remember that. I remember COVID. And, you're so right in identifying that this really does feel very similar to how it felt during COVID. There's lots of uncertainty right now with, new governments on either side of the border, with tariffs, lots of concerns. For some of our clients, things are in pause mode until things sort themselves out, either favorably or unfavorably. They're really kind of just holding, much like they did during COVID. Most clients are able to pivot appropriately once they know what the landscape looks like, but it's that uncertainty that can be most challenging. And for me, in working closely with our clients and trying to establish myself and be that trusted advisor, it really starts with being available. I see this as an opportunity to be there for our clients and to really distinguish ourselves and to be that trusted advisor, to explore various options and opportunities they may wish to pertaining to their benefits and what's going to fit and what's not going to fit. But really start out by reaching out and being available. That's a great first step.
Yeah, and you're right. But Paul, you and I both know that it's more than just being available. I know you personally. You're very proactive in your approach to building relationships and providing advice. What gives you the courage to face that potential storm, and how have your clients responded to that?
Michael, here's what I'll say. I'm incredibly fortunate. Pretty much every one of my clients is either a friend who became a client or a client who's become a friend. And therefore, because they're clients and friends, I very much care about taking care of them. I believe that my courage comes really from two factors. I've got a really deep and trusting relationship with my clients. Like my clients look to me and to our team, and they want to hear from us. So we've established that relationship, that very trusting relationship where they look to us. And then the other area that I think is a factor is sort of through my experience, my career experience combined with that of the team and colleagues I have here, we've got a very deep expertise that we can call upon in advising our clients. It's kind of like public speaking. People tell me that they are uncomfortable public speaking, but they feel more comfortable when they're confident on the subject matter that they're public speaking on. When you feel confident about what it is that you're talking to your clients about, you can be much more effective in advising them.
You had also mentioned in your opening commentary on this question that you saw similarities between COVID and what we're going through right now. How has your experience in COVID helped you provide advice to your clients right now?
Yeah, I mean, if there are any similarities, it's really around that uncertainty that I mentioned earlier and not knowing what the future is going to look like. Our clients run really, really good businesses and they are excellent operators. But when there's forces beyond their control, be it a pandemic, political chaos, it makes it really difficult to plan for the unknown. Our clients can pivot and they can deal with things that they know about and that they can plan around. But when it's that uncertainty, much like we had during COVID, that's when the challenges are at their highest level.
One of my favorite quotes, and I believe it's attributed to Albert Einstein, is "In the middle of every difficulty lies an opportunity." Where do you believe the opportunities are for Canadian group benefits advisors in this economic climate?
Yeah, great question, and I love the quote. And I don't know if it's Einstein either, but I know the quote, and it's very appropriate at this stage in where we're at. I think the opportunity is to sort of choose what kind of ostrich do you want to be? Do you want to be the ostrich who sort of sticks out their chest and who leans in, who shows up, who reaches out to clients to consult with them and determine the best way to support them? Or are you going to be the ostrich who sticks their head in the sand and hopes this all goes away soon? And so defining which ostrich you want to be will help you figure out how you're going to show up for your clients.
That is so true. Even back during COVID, I remember a lot of advisors went running for the hills and could barely be found by their clients to help address the situation, as it was really uncharted territories. What are you doing right now to separate yourself from the competition? Is there anything specific?
Yeah, great question. And everything I say, I certainly don't want it to be me. It's really a we. Like, we've got an incredible team that I rely on. And I think, as I say often, benefits is a team sport. And so along with my colleagues, we work really hard to not only understand our clients' benefits, which we have to understand intimately, but to also understand their business. So what is their business plan for the next year, the next 3 years, the next 5 years? And then how do we support the HR team with their benefits so that they can support the business and make sure that it's aligned with the business plan. So during times of crisis and uncertainty, those timelines often get shrunk. And you're now talking about their business plan for the next 3 months or 6 months, maybe 2 years. So during COVID, the initial impulse for many of our clients was to find cost savings in all aspects of their business from all of their suppliers, including us. And so for some, we need to be prepared and determined for our clients where cost savings can be found if that is the priority. But at the end of the day, the client decides what they can afford and the client decides what the priorities are. And if we can find them savings, we will. But if there's other priorities that they need to focus on where the benefits can support that, we need to be able to pivot towards those as well. We'll always ensure that our clients understand the possible impacts on their staff and their families. During times of uncertainty, we want to try to find stability through benefit plan sustainability, but we also want to make sure that we're continuing to take care of people, because during times of uncertainty, it's not only the employer and the company that has uncertainty, but you can be sure that all their staff and all their employees are sharing that same level of uncertainty.
Yeah, and you had mentioned that even going back to where you were talking about your past experiences and how it's helped you become the advisor that you are today, and just tracking where your clients are in their business cycle, whether it's a startup, whether it's someone who's running a matured business, whether someone's growing and trying to go international. But all those different stages require different advice. And can almost fit into that. Like, it's a global stage. This is a global cycle. And we need to be ready with that type of advice. But I'm curious to know from your perspective, on the flip side of that coin, what are the major challenges that our industry faces as part of this crisis?
Yeah, fair question, Michael. And our industry is also facing some headwinds. These come more from political uncertainty than from tariff uncertainty, quite frankly. I mean, the tariffs they'll certainly impact our clients, less direct impact on us. You could talk a little bit about the impact possibly on the cost of medications, but really our uncertainty comes from political uncertainty. Having the government looking to get into our business by providing national dental care and national Pharmacare, that poses a threat. And to date, this has been provided to Canadians who do not have the support already, which is great. I think those Canadians should absolutely get taken care of. But if these programs start to bleed into covering people who are already covered through great benefit programs, this could provide a challenge. And of course, how this will be administered and understood is not typically the government's strength. We're not sure with this new government, because that was largely an NDP-driven initiative. We're not sure what that's going to look like. And then I mentioned the tariffs on the pharmaceutical industry. Canada imports about 16% of its drug supply from the United States. So a possible tariff combined with a weaker Canadian dollar is going to drive up the cost on those drugs that are imported into Canada, and these increased costs will flow through to the benefit claims and therefore in the resulting premiums required.
Yeah, that's a tremendous perspective. But to dive a little bit further, typically when these types of situations have come up or different business cycles, and when you face challenges in the past, what is your mindset? How do you recalibrate yourself so that you can continue to deliver that high level of advice and success to your clients?
Yeah, that's a probing question. And Michael, you sort of touched upon where my mindset has gone before with your Einstein quote. And I truly view these situations as an opportunity. It's an opportunity for me to step up and distinguish myself and our team from others. When things are going well, it's easy to be an effective advisor. But when challenges set in, this is where it gets tougher. This is the time to be better and to honor the relationship you have with your client. They entrust you to be their professional benefits advisor, and this is our opportunity to earn that trust, to sort of support that notion that they already have of us. It's a time to ensure that you remain educated, you remain informed, prepared, and that you remain curious. Be curious about what your client needs and be curious about the various options that can solve some of the challenges they're facing.
Switching gears just a little bit, my next question is, how do you think the current state of affairs will affect our industry? And just by way of framing this question a little bit, back when we went through COVID or prior to COVID, advisors were meeting with their clients face to face more often than not, going out, delivering proposals, going out, delivering renewals. And as COVID hit, that all changed. And even to today, people have continued with online meetings, phone calls, and going out less to see their clients. How do you think this situation will change our industry? What are you seeing in that crystal ball of yours?
Yeah, I think about this a lot. And of course, you're right. COVID did change the way or how we meet with people, certainly at that time. And that's continued to affect that. But I commonly remind my clients that there's three key reasons for their benefit plan and for what kind of plan they have. And those three reasons are it should be there to help attract top talent, to support them in retaining that top talent, and then lastly, and maybe most importantly, to take care of people and their families. So the current state of affairs presents both challenges and opportunities for the benefits industry in Canada. If we stay agile and responsive to economic shifts, technological advancements, social dynamics, regulatory changes, companies can continue to offer competitive and meaningful benefit packages. But these efforts will not only help them attract and retain top talent, but also contribute to the overall well-being and productivity of the Canadian workforce. So I see this, I'm generally bullish, I'm generally optimistic, and I continue to be bullish and optimistic. What this new time of uncertainty may drive, though, is a push towards more insightful data. We've got an incredible amount of data available to us. A lot of it's housed by the insurance carriers themselves, but an incredible amount of data to share with clients. But how effective are we in doing this? And not only how effective are we, but how much of our reporting is looking back rather than looking ahead? We spend a lot of time reporting on what has happened, but how are we harnessing that data to be able to provide some predictions or some insights on what is likely going to happen? So with continued advancements in technology and the clients deserving, I think, of better reporting, I can see data taking on an increasingly important spot in the benefits landscape.
And just to put you on the spot a little bit, what is your general prediction for Canadian businesses? What can advisors do to support them?
Well, Michael, I don't like generally giving predictions. I don't like predicting hockey playoff outcomes, although I'm always predicting the Oilers will come out on top. But what I can tell you that our experience during COVID was that although our clients certainly wanted to discuss their options and how and where they could save costs, most did not end up reducing their benefits coverage. During uncertain times, clients want to hold on to their best people. And with benefits being such a key part of the overall compensation package, there's a reluctance to impact this, especially if wage increases will be capped or will be minimal. But we still have a responsibility to understand what it is that our clients are looking for and to provide them with options for consideration. And that's where you get, to get to know your client really well and understand during these challenging times, what is their priority? And then let's make sure that we're working with them to achieve that.
What has been one of the most influential books you've ever read and why?
This might surprise you a bit, Michael. Thank you for asking the question, but it's The 5 Love Languages. And not only has the wisdom contained in that book been so supportive of me in my 31-year marriage, but I find it helps me in many relationships from personal to business. It really helps me focus on understanding what matters to people, what's important to people, and then how can I best support them?
That is a great book, and I've read it myself, Paul. But that leads into the next question. What are your love languages, and how do you need to adjust to maybe interact with those that aren't a fit for the love language that you have?
As soon as I told you my book recommendation or favorite, I knew that it was likely leading to this follow-up question. So I've set myself up here. So what I'll tell you, like many people probably, I think all of the love languages matter to me, but the one that's probably most dominant for me is positive affirmation. So I work really, really hard to ensure I get lots of it. But everyone's different, and it's helpful to understand how to best take care of clients. Whether it's reinforcing to our clients that they're doing an excellent job, because maybe positive affirmation is something that really resonates with them, or it's working hard to provide exceptional service because it's acts of service that really matter to them and being exceptional in delivery and getting back to them on a timely basis. Or maybe it's ensuring that they know that they're a priority for your time. So the quality time and that they are a priority of your time is what matters. The love language matters, and it shows up in different ways.
Yeah, it's super important to give people what they need as part of your interactions with them. And it reminds me of just a funny story back in my previous selling days prior to group benefits. And this is more on temperaments. But I remember walking into a client's office, and on the wall was a whole bunch of like child's artwork and like family photos and like photos from their last vacation. And so I started to build naturally a profile of this client, someone that typically has that. Like you start with bonding and rapport, and the guy was just really sharp, like not interested, right? And so and I kept trying, and he kept just like cutting me off and like, let's get to the bottom line type of thing. And so I adjusted and started getting more punchy with my approach, and he responded really well. At the end of our meeting, I just said, "Oh, like great wall decorations," and he said, "Oh, that's my wife's doing." Like he had no control over it. I read it completely wrong, and so there's always value in adjusting to where people need to be.
100%. I mean, similarly, I've got clients that, I'd get told, well, you should bring them donuts. So I would show up at the meeting if it's a new client, trying to build rapport, trying to build a relationship with donuts. Well, for some clients, that really resonates and they're excited to see it and they really appreciate it because gifts is one of their love languages. But for those that don't care about gifts or it's not a priority, it kind of falls flat. So you just kind of have to sort of figure, it's surprising how sort of, again, the advice and the counsel in that book can translate into business relationships.
Paul, thank you for carving out some time to join me today. This conversation was packed with insights, and I hope it was just as valuable for you as it was for us. And there you have it, folks. Another episode of 18-Minute Experts wrapped up and ready for playback. Remember, what you hear isn't just talk. It's part of our mission to arm Canadian group benefits advisors with practical, independent advice that they can take straight to their clients, prospects, and communities. If you haven't already, please make sure you hit that subscribe button on YouTube or your favorite podcast platform so you never miss an episode. Because when it comes to group benefits, knowledge isn't just power, it's your competitive advantage. Stay curious, stay sharp, and always stay awesome. Until next time.